Hey everybody, welcome to the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. My name is Scott Schweitzer and I am the Clydesdale, and I am so excited to announce our partnership with RX Smart Gear is our newest sponsor to our podcast. I have been a user of RX Smart Gear for a long time. If you weren't with us in the last episode, there is my first ever RX Smart Gear jump rope. I got this at the 2014 Central East Regionals. And the best part of that was at the time I was getting about, 8 to 14, 15 double unders at a time. I worked with one of their specialists at their vendor booth at the regional that year. They taught me some tips and tricks. I got a rope sized and made for me in whatever color and shape I wanted. And after that, I was able to string together about 30 double unders at a time. And for a Clydesdale, that's pretty darn good. We'll take that in the open. Anything that doesn't like bust up our open workout and we can just kind of keep moving with those double unders is pretty awesome. They have a lot of shapes and sizes of all kinds of ropes. They also have grips and gear that are available, training tools to help you get more proficient with your double unders, backpacks, duffel bags, things like that. So check them out at rxsmartgear.com. And we hope you like it because every one of us on this podcast use RX jump ropes, and we use them to get our double unders down, and we hope it helps you too. Thanks a lot. And now we'll get to our latest episode.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, Miranda, how are you?
Oh, I guess I didn't realize this was like a group chat. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're friends.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I'm Scott. I'm the Clydesdale, and Kat and Amy are my friends.
Wow.
Hi, Miranda.
And so they're my co-hosts as well.
That's awesome. That's fun. Yeah.
I love the shirt, by the way.
Oh,
Monster.
thank you.
So we're really informal. I've already hit the record button. We'll just get to it and
Okay.
get through it all.
Great. And you guys can hear me fine? I have my AirPods on. Is that okay?
You sound awesome.
Okay, cool.
So this is really exciting for me. When I first started CrossFit, you were big in CrossFit media. I thought you were one of the best analysts that they had. And I miss your perspective, but I know you're on to bigger and better things now. So it's really exciting for me to get to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
So you have a husband, Julian.
I do. Yes.
And you now have 2 kids.
Yes.
So
Congratulations on your latest.
Thank you.
So what's motherhood like?
Sorry, Siri thought I was talking to her. I had to kick her out. What did you say? What was your question?
I said, so what is motherhood like?
Maybe the dramatic long pause was the correct answer then. I mean, it's amazing, and it's like the most worthwhile thing you'll ever do, and it changes your heart and just who you are, but also it's exhausting and very high levels of stress all the time, whether it's like wondering if the baby's breathing. That's like the first stage, right? And then it's like wondering if they're eating enough and wondering if they should have rolled over by now. And then it turns into like being terrified that they're going to fall every time they stand up, or, so and I know that it never ends. You hear from moms of older kids that cycle continues. So, yeah. It goes by way faster than you want it to also.
Yeah, I have a 19-year-old daughter, and the worries are completely different.
Oh,
but just as intense.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I come from a big family. I have 5 siblings myself. And actually my mom and my sister, like 20 minutes before we got on this call, showed up to visit me. My sister hasn't met my newest little boy yet. So they're here. They're actually walking him around the neighborhood so that I could chat with you guys.
Oh, that's
Very
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
So did you play sports growing up?
No, well, that's not true entirely. I played a couple seasons of ice hockey as a goalie when I was super young, like 7 years old. Two of my three older brothers were really big into hockey, like all the way through high school. And so they taught me how to skate. And then they basically, I think they just needed a goalie so that they could play. And they figured, well, she could probably stand there, you know? And so I played hockey when I was little. And then I stopped playing hockey, and in high school, I danced and stuff like that, like in junior high and high school. And I was a cheerleader in high school, but no other like sports. I guess I did do one season of track my senior year of high school also.
So what got you into CrossFit and getting you into that transition?
Yeah, I was a personal trainer. So my high school boyfriend, his mother was a spin instructor, and I ended up dating him for like 3 years or something like that. And so I would go to her spin classes, and I really liked it. And then my best friend throughout junior high and high school, she also had like a gym membership, like a family recreation type place, like a tennis club. And so we would go together, and we would, who knows what we were doing, but we thought we were working out, you know, I mean, we were doing something, but, and so I was into fitness already, like even out of high school, even though I wasn't really playing sports. And then I went to school actually for interior design. But I was teaching spinning classes when I was in school. And so I was around the gym and everything a lot. And when I graduated from school, I realized that, now this is like a stereotype, but typically the people who can afford an interior designer are not the type of people that I wanted to spend my time with. They were, especially because I was young, so they were very, you know, rude, and I don't know. So I ended up going the path of just continuing more on the fitness side, since I had already been working in it the whole time I was like in school and everything.
That's funny because my wife actually has a degree in interior design, and she left the field a couple years after college as well.
Yeah, I actually wanted to be like a set designer for like movies, or like my dream was to like work at Disney and work on the rides and things like that, like designing that kind of stuff. But obviously that takes time, and probably you have to know somebody to get that kind of an opportunity. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
that's an interesting, like I never thought about movie sets and Disney itself being interior designed, but that's really cool.
Do you still have like a personal interest in doing that, like at your home, or for,
oh yeah,
well,
it's an expensive interest.
Yeah.
For sure. When I was pregnant with this last with Banner, we redid our entire downstairs. Like I'm like 8 months pregnant, and we like don't even have a kitchen, like it, and then the coronavirus came, and it was just like a disaster, like, but yeah, so I definitely do.
So you took the nesting phase to a whole new level.
Oh yeah, big time.
So eventually you became an affiliate owner, right? Because there wasn't much available in Salt Lake.
Yeah, so I was a personal trainer, and at the time I was renting space in like a studio. There was only 4 trainers. It was very small, and we would just pay almost like a hairdresser, like a monthly rent, and we could train our clients there. And that's when I found CrossFit. Now, how I found CrossFit was I was kind of bored with my own workouts, because I had been doing very much like bodybuilding type stuff for a long time. And so one day I Googled Marine Corps training, because you know you always hear like the Marines are so tough or whatever. And so I found the CrossFit website, and I started doing the workouts myself. And I completely stopped doing any bodybuilding, because I wanted to see if these workouts were actually enough, you know, because on the website it said this is all you need to do or whatever. And so I did just that, and I fell in love with it, obviously. And so I started doing it with my clients at this training studio. And then I saw the benefit of having more than one person working out together. And then I got in trouble because they didn't want me to train more than one person at a time, and basically kicked me out. And so, yes, I opened an affiliate mostly because I had nowhere else to go with my clients, and because I, you know, had this new love for CrossFit.
So I've heard you in places talk about the community aspect and how you're good at growing a community. Because when you first started that affiliate, you took a large group of people to the CrossFit Games before anybody even knew what the CrossFit Games were.
Yeah, so this was So in 2008, myself and my ex-husband and I think like 2 other of our friends went to the games and I participated. And it's not like how it is now at all. I literally signed a waiver and then they were like, cool, you're in Heat 5 or whatever, you know? And that was less than a year after we started CrossFit. And then in 2009, we had our affiliate for a while. And so, yeah, we had 30 people drive from Salt Lake to Santa Cruz to watch the 2009 games. One of our trainers competed. That was the first year that you had to qualify through regionals, and she qualified and she competed. And it was, I mean, people were like sleeping in these like crappy motels because there's not a lot around there, honestly, and everything. But it was some of the best memories. It was a really tight-knit group, and many of them are still very tight-knit now.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how many members did you have at that affiliate?
I want to say we had like 100 to 125 maybe at the most. Yeah.
That's a decent size. Back then, I mean, CrossFit wasn't even really a thing yet.
Yeah, the greatest thing about back then, and I think, you know, why there's a little bit of a different attitude or vibe when you talk to somebody who's been doing CrossFit from 2007, 2008 versus they started in like 2012 or something, is there was no such thing as like a CrossFit competitor back then. And most people, if they were at an affiliate that early, had never heard of CrossFit or seen CrossFit before at all. And so there was no preconceived notions. Nobody came in like trying to like be something specific or show off or I don't know, whatever. So the vibe was very different then, and a lot of affiliates have held on to it. But you get people that come in now. I mean, I remember back in like, 2013, 14, people would come into the gym and be like, oh yeah, I want to compete. Like that's the reason they were there. And you just didn't have that back then. And no one was doing 2 workouts a day. Like that would have been nonsense, So it was fun. And we all got to kind of like learn how to do it together.
Yeah. I started in 2011 and it's even changed from then till now for me. Like it just used to be fun. It was hanging out with your friends, doing a workout, working hard, but not like really worried about competitions or anything like that. And I kind of miss that.
Yeah, we have some videos from back then. Because even back then I was with like a camcorder making videos and putting them on our website. But there was no Instagram or anywhere else to put them. Like, where are you going to put them? But they're still on. You can find them on Facebook, or I think they're on like a Vimeo page or something. And the movement is just so bad. And like none of the reps from anyone should be counting at all. But like people were getting fitter and they were having a good time. And, obviously I grew as a coach and CrossFit grew as in the methodology, but it was great.
Yeah, we had the first year we did the Open, we weren't quite affiliated yet. So we had to submit the videos. And so they're all out there on YouTube from 2000, I think through 2013 was our first year we did the Open. Oh my goodness, where we've come from there. They live in infamy.
Yeah, they're so great.
So Miranda, how did that transition from you going from the affiliate owner to working at HQ?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when it kind of all jumbled together. So I competed in the games, loosely competed, right? In the games in 2008. And 2 weeks later, there was a level 2, the old school level 2 that if you were around like back before they changed all the levels, was basically, it's like the level 4 now. Okay. It was 2 weeks later also in Santa Cruz. And I remember we went to the games, drove home because we didn't have money to fly or anything back then. And then we drove back to Santa Cruz for the level 2. And basically back then, the way that they found trainers for the seminar staff was people who actually passed the level 2 because the passing rate was super low. I think it was like something like an 85% fail rate or something like that of this because it was performance based. And so basically anybody that passed it, they would ask them if they were interested in helping with the seminars. And so that's how I was able to get an internship with the seminars.
Did you enjoy your time on the seminar staff?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I still have very close friends. I got to go all over the world. It was so great.
I think I heard you quote, like, you've been to 250 different affiliates because of
So
that.
I worked over 300 seminars, and of course you end up at the same affiliate over and over again for certain places that do a lot of seminars, but for the most part, yeah, it was different every time.
So it gave you a chance to see the world. Did you get any time to like stick around and check out that area, or were you pretty much just seminar and off?
So this is a regret that I have. I was very so kind of, I'm proud of myself in a way, but also there's a regret when it comes to that with all the travel. I was one that I refused to become a professional athlete. Like that didn't make life sense to me. Like I was like, I'm never going to be like, what am I going to get another sponsorship from like a grip company or something? Like I need to think of my like long-term career path. And so I was very much, committed to working the seminars, and I worked almost every weekend for like 8 years. But I was also wanting to compete. And so I was very wanting to go to bed on time, even if I was in some cool country, or waking up early to work out in the, in the hotel gym, or, you know, getting home and not staying a couple extra days so that I could go back home and train. And so I did see some really cool stuff. Like I spent a good amount of time in Australia one time. I was in Sweden, I think one time with Boz and EC for like over a week. And so in between, like we did a weekend and then we had all the days in between and then another weekend. That was really cool. I have some cool experiences from Korea because we were there like an extra day, but I could have done a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you're young, you don't realize that, you know, once you have kids and stuff, a lot of that you just can't do anymore.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I mean, because I have such good memories from competing and from having that opportunity too. So it's like, obviously there would have been a trade either way. But yeah, I mean, I've been to a lot of airports and a lot of Starbucks and a lot of gyms, and that's about it.
So during that time as a seminar staff member is kind of the infamous story of your life that is how I got to know who you were. And that was the auto accident that happened while you were on seminar staff. And they made an amazing documentary about the sickness wellness continuum, and you became the poster child for that. So how did that impact your life or change your life in any way?
Yeah, there was definitely like a big shift in just me as a person and how I thought of my own life, but also how I thought of the importance of what I was actually teaching every weekend and how important it was for the everyday person to hear that, maybe more than I had realized before. Because I mean, I was 29 when I got in the accident, and I had always been super healthy and I'd never had any issues or anything like that. So while of course I believed in what I was teaching, I didn't see how much of an impact it could make in a regular person until that happened to me, and it saved my life because I was so healthy and fit. And then of course you just want to go shout from the rooftops like, hey, like this isn't just for athletes, and like I know the competing's fun, but that's not what this should be about. Like people need this, and the further you can get away from, you know, being ill or, you know, having weak bone density or losing muscle mass, like the more we can like hold that stuff off, the better we're going to be, and no matter what comes up. And I really understood it for myself, I think, finally, as someone who was young. And then from there, you could kind of trace some life changes and choices, I guess, that I made. I stopped traveling every weekend after that, because I was like, I haven't been to a birthday party or to, you know, I've missed so much in that with traveling too. Again, probably wouldn't trade it. There's some great memories, and I gained so much from it as a trainer and in my career and everything. But yeah, it changed a lot for me for sure.
And that documentary proved to me that you actually are Wonder Woman, doing what you did, air squats 2 days after the accident.
Well, to be fair, I didn't know how bad my injury was at that time. So when I left the hospital, they told me I had whiplash, and I was like, well, I guess this is, you know, what whiplash feels like. And because of my education, I knew like moving actually helps the recovery process. So the last thing I'm going to do is just lay around. It's going to probably hurt worse if I do that. So yes, I was doing some stuff like that. Yes.
And then the funny thing that happened just probably in the last year is Kevin Hart was in a car accident. And I actually saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was quoting the same stuff that you were. You know,
Wow.
they said if he wasn't in such good shape, he probably would have been paralyzed in that car accident. And it was
Wow.
only because he was in good shape and so without saying sickness, wellness continuum, he was saying the same things you were. And I thought that was really
Wow.
cool.
What's funny, like such a small world, is I'm actually really good friends with his trainer. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where he got it, is your story from his
Maybe.
trainer.
Yeah.
So then you're on seminar staff, and then you kind of get hooked up with the NorCal group.
Oh yeah. So actually, I met Jason in 2008 at my level 1 and his level 1 seminar. We were at the same level 1.
That's great.
And yeah, kind of became buddies. And then a few months, I want to say like 6 months later or something like that, was the 2008 games that he won. And we remembered because anybody that's been to a level 1, they remember the people from their level 1. And there's like friendships that are made there that people maintain for a long time. And so we were like, oh my gosh, like that guy from our level 1 just won. Like, that's so crazy. And then he told us like, yeah, I'm going to open a gym. And at first he told us he was going to name it Jason Khalipa's CrossFit. And we were like, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, maybe it would have been actually, given what happened, his career or whatever. But so just kind of kept in touch with him. And then he ended up on seminar staff also. And so we would work together randomly. And then when we moved to Northern California, at first I was in Santa Cruz, and I tried working out a few places there, and I just never found like my group that I really vibed with. And so I started working out with Jason and his crew. It was like Jason and Neil, and just, I think at first I was the only girl that was there regularly. But yeah, it became a thing where we had a good time.
So when did you start working out there?
I started working out there early 2012. I did most of the open, if not all of the open there in 2012. I moved to Northern California in 2011, and I didn't start working out at NorCal CrossFit until 2012. Yeah, early 2012. And then my car accident was June of that year. So I was gone for a little bit, obviously, because I wasn't able to drive from Santa Cruz to San Jose, which is like a kind of a long drive. But then I went back and was there, ended up moving closer so that I could train there.
And you started NC Lab for them?
Yeah. So it's so funny, right? So I remember Paul Gomez, who is one of the owners of Progenics, he was with us at NorCal because there was a very close relationship between NorCal and Progenics. And there was like this crew, and he was like, are you on Instagram? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, this was 2013. He's like, you have to get on Instagram. And I was like, okay. He's like, give me your phone. And he like set it up for me. And he's like, you just post. And I'm like, what do you say? And he's like, it's kind of like Facebook, but just pictures, because at the time it was just pictures. And about a year later, I was like, we could make an Instagram for our like workout crew. And I bet people would love to see our workouts. And so that's kind of where that came. And I've always really loved programming. Now, I was not responsible for most of the workouts that we did back then. Jason would make stuff up off the top of his head. But I thought that people would find it interesting to see that we were just making stuff up randomly, because that was kind of the emergence of online programming, the CompTrain or whatever. And our programming was so random and so made up 5 minutes before we did it. But you had athletes like Garrett Fisher and Neil Maddox and Jason Khalipa who were just dominating at least Northern California with these workouts that we were just like coming up with randomly and had no coaches or anyone programming for us. So we created that and tried to make it clear, like, we're not suggesting that anybody do this, but this is what we're doing so you can see. And people loved it.
That's what I loved about CrossFit back then is our coach would come in, the whiteboard would be blank and he'd just start writing and everybody's trying to figure out what the next movement's going to be. And that made it fun, right? You didn't know the night before. You just got surprised when you showed up.
Yeah.
So, so you stayed with them and up and through the 15 games.
Yeah.
The 15 games, man, that you guys were on pace to win the 2015 games.
Yeah.
You were dominating that year. And it was the big, Rich Jason showdown, Mayhem versus NorCal, and you guys were crushing it. And then you blow out your knee.
Yeah. So we had competed as a team without Jason and without Molly in 2014. We had like a pretty good team. We ended up getting 5th at the games in 2014 without Jason and Molly. And then the next year, I don't know if Jason decided to go team first or Richard. I don't know what happened. I know Jason wanted to spend more time with his family, and that's kind of how this came to be. But yeah, it kind of became a thing. And the cool part about it is that our group had been training together for 3 years now at that point every day. And we were just friends. And so it was so much fun. It was so meaningful for all of us to go out there and do that together. But yeah, so we were winning, I think by like 100 points, if not exactly 100 points. And then on the clean and jerk workout on Saturday morning, and it's like one of those like laces out moments, like, from Ace Ventura, right? Because I had already made
not at all what I thought you were going to use as an analogy, but okay.
We were up by 100 points. I had made a lift, so I had a score, but I had more time on the clock. So I was like, oh, whatever, throw the 5s on, and all of us were extremely wrecked from some of the stuff that we had done on the beach. And I caught the clean, just a power clean. And it was actually not when I caught it. It was when I went to stand up. I just stood up and my knee like buckled, and I had never felt anything like that before. It didn't hurt, but I knew there was something wrong with it. And so I didn't even try to stand up because I was worried I was going to like collapse in front of all these people. So instead I just crawled to change the weight for the next lifter on the platform and then crawled off the floor. And, we went back into the medical area and they told me that I had torn my ACL, and I was like, cool, wrap it up. Like, we're winning the CrossFit Games. Like, it's already torn. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Let's go, But they would not allow me to continue. I think that year they had some people go down. They had like, it was the really hot Murphy year where they were like, I think Cara Webb needed like medical assistance, and so did Annie Thorsdottir. And I remember Dave, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. I mean, he was my boss for 8 years. He said, there's no way I'm letting you go out there and like potentially get more hurt in front of all these people. Like, I can't, no, you're not, it's over. You can't compete anymore. So.
Yeah. I remember watching it live, and just being devastated for you because you guys were way out in front, and Jason fighting to like 5 of us will carry the worm. Like,
yeah.
like just let us go. And so I just felt bad for you guys because you were the better team, and you could tell that you had been worked. You could tell you worked out together much longer than anybody else.
So we had really good chemistry and communication for sure.
Yeah. So how hard was it for you? Because I know when I'm on a team, the last thing I want to do is let down my team members. Did you feel like you let them down, or did they?
I kind of still feel like that, honestly, and we're still friends. I still talk to pretty much everybody that was in that group. I mean, Molly is one of my best friends, and so is Jen. Both of them I talk to regularly. I mean, I talk to Molly every day. And I guess I do still feel like that kind of, but at the same time, we've talked about it at different times where it was the best thing for several of us. It was that following winter that Jason found out that Ava was sick, and had we won, we for sure would have tried to win again because it would have been so great. And that would have been a really weird place that he would have been in, where he would have had to make the decision if he was going to, not compete with us or what he was going to do. I for sure would not have moved. Because I moved shortly after. I mean, I think I moved away like 3 months later, probably just because I felt so bad. But I would not have moved. We would have continued to train and compete, which would have been fun. But so many of our, or several of our lives would be really different right now had that not happened. So
It's funny how that works out.
Yeah.
Things did probably work out for the best.
Yeah, I think so.
What did you learn from Jason?
My favorite thing that I learned from Jason, honestly, was just, he was always in a hurry because he keeps a very tight schedule. And for me at the time when I was at NorCal, I worked on the weekends, but during the week I wasn't doing a whole lot unless it was game season and I was doing like commentating type stuff. But he would come in and he'd be like, guys, we got to go, we got to do it. And the amount of stuff that we could fit into a short window, like an hour and a half, 2 hour window, where a lot of the athletes then and still now train for like 4 or 5 hours a day. We were getting as much as we needed in an hour and a half, 2 hours, with very little rest in between. And it was because Jason was always in a hurry. So we got a lot from that. I enjoyed watching Jason as a business person and just seeing how he would just go for things, and he's fearless when it comes to that. And so that was cool to be around also. But I think just in general, our whole group had we were serious. Like, obviously we were serious about winning and competing, but also we weren't serious. We didn't take ourselves so seriously. And I really liked that. And it was why we had so much fun.
So now is the part I really want to talk to you about. And that's your new business venture that has been so successful. And gosh, so you started street parking.
Yes.
You moved from NorCal to Southern Cal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the impetus that got you started with street parking? What was the inspiration?
So I got a job with Progenics, which is why I moved to Southern California. And I was still working seminars, but not as many because I was not trying to travel the way that I had been before. But I started traveling, funny enough, I started traveling a lot for Progenics, whether it was to Wadapalooza or to this training thing or that training thing, to be with the athletes, because my job was like the athlete liaison, basically. And so I was still traveling a ton. And I started dating Julian, who lived in Northern LA, which, if you're familiar with Southern California, Los Angeles and where I was living in Newport, they're not on the map that far away, but because of traffic, it's like, if you leave at the wrong time, you're looking at like 3 hours. With no traffic, it was like an hour-ish. So when we were together, the last thing we wanted to do was try to drive to the gym where he was training. And then, so we were working out a lot at his home. And I was still traveling, so I was still working out and doing a lot of hotel stuff. And because I had my Instagram now, right? And then I was an expert Instagrammer. I started posting, I noticed that when I would post like a hotel workout or like an apartment gym workout or a workout in his garage, that I would get more interaction from people on a post like that than if I was in the gym doing muscle ups or handstand push-ups or whatever. And I think one thing that I'm blessed with or lucky to have is just I notice those types of things, and I think, man, like, this could help some people. And so I thought I should start a new Instagram page again, where we can post our workouts that we're doing at home or when we travel, and then that way people can do them that can't make it to the gym, or maybe other people who travel. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And it was just an Instagram page at first.
And then, so did you eventually conscientiously say, hey, let's make some programming for people working out at home? Or how did it develop to that next phase? Yeah.
So I loved programming. At the time, I was working with Pat Sherwood with Linchpin, and we were programming for affiliates. It was myself, him, and Chris Spieler. And each of us had like 5 or 6 affiliates that we were programming for. so I love making workouts. And so, yeah, I said to Julian, we should on our page do like a daily workout that you can do with like very minimal equipment. But then we can also show that if you do have access to more equipment, because we had more than your average person in our garage just because we were athletes, we could show like the different variations based on what you have. And then we could, hook up with like Wodify, who we ended up hooking up with, and they can log their scores. That way they can compare with each other. We can have like this little community, and people who are traveling all around, or who can't make it to a gym, or maybe there's no gyms near them, can still do the workouts. And in no place in my mind was it a for parents thing. 0% of my mind was thinking about parents or stay-at-home moms, because I wasn't in that world yet. I was thinking of busy business owners and travelers and things like that. But I think like a week after we started posting the workouts on the Instagram, I found out I was pregnant. And honestly, you've probably heard the story before, but I was like, it's over. I was the Miranda abs, and like I'm rapping with my hat backwards, and I've got the NC lab. Like no one wants to see the mom version of that. Like that's what I thought. Right. So I didn't think that anybody was going to be interested in it anymore. And it had the exact opposite effect.
Yeah. It probably made you even more relatable.
Yeah. And I mean, no one has a harder time finding time to work out than a mom, so.
Yeah. So I heard a story that said that initially you just wanted to make enough money to pay your rent.
Not even our rent, because we were in Southern California, so that was very expensive. But we were like, if we could get 100 members, it could pay part of our rent. And that was like, that would be so cool. And then, because Julian had a business. We had just moved in together too, like around that same time. Julian had a meal prep business in Southern California, and I was working for Progenics. I was not working for CrossFit anymore when Street Parking started. I had left working for them like 2 or 3 months before, which is why I had this free time to come up with this new Instagram page, I guess.
Was that an amicable breakup?
Yeah, so they were changing how they were working with seminar staff. At the time, right before I left, we had full benefits. Those of us who had been around for a long time even had like a yearly amount that we were like almost like a salary for just being available for random things that they might need us to help with, so that we didn't feel like we had to have another job on top of that. And they were restructuring things, which, I mean, they were probably just spending way too much money on us, to be honest, because we were paid very well, where we had to work, I think it was like a minimum of 30 seminars a year to still receive any sort of benefits. And as I mentioned before, like I just wasn't willing to travel that much anymore. And so some of the changes that they were making, it just felt like the right time for me I had another job, for me to not do it anymore. I was seeing Julian and I didn't want to be leaving him all the time. Like I wanted to see where our relationship was going to go. I met with Dave at Starbucks one day and had like a really good talk, and that was kind of it. And like I said, I'm still really good friends with so many of them, and I have nothing but love for CrossFit. And the CrossFit training department and the seminars are the best resource out there for anyone who wants to be a trainer, in my opinion.
So does Street Parking have any affiliation with CrossFit? Or
no, just mine and Julian's history,
Okay.
And a lot of members that have been part of boxes or still are part of boxes who use our program when, there's a pandemic or when they travel, or just when they can't make it to the gym, they'll pull up one of our workouts instead.
So what makes Street Parking different than other online programming?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's, I guess if you're probably asking me specifically about CrossFit programming as opposed to like the random fitness apps, right?
It was broad for you to say whatever you want to do there.
Yeah. So initially, and a lot of people have adopted this, especially in the last 6 months, but initially the main difference was the different variations of the workout depending on how much equipment you had. So all of our workouts from inception in fall of 2016 can be completed with only a pair of dumbbells. But we would also show a version where it's like, if you have a barbell and a pull-up bar and a plyo box, here's the version of the workout that you could do with that. Or if you've got a rower and a bike and all the things, here's the version of the workout. And obviously not every workout needs all three versions. If it's clean and jerks and burpees, there's a barbell option, there's the dumbbell option, and we do a lot of sandbag stuff now too, actually, because it works really well for home gyms. So that's been, I would say when we first started, that was the key difference, was that we were showing all of that. We were filming and still do film a demo workout for every workout every day, with like video demos of all the substitutions and modifications and everything. Because again, we're assuming these people are working out not under the supervision of a coach. And there is a lot to be said about what you can gain from having a coach watch you, but that doesn't mean that you can't work out without one, you know? So we've always provided a ton of information. My goal, because I was an affiliate owner, then I worked for the seminars, was to give all of the information that a good coach would give you in a class and deliver that through our program on the daily description and the video. And we give them goals, goal times or scores and things like that, to all the stuff that a good coach would do in person, right? And that's kind of, I guess, the technical side of how we're different. This actually came up on our Facebook group the other day. Somebody said, guys, we have like this 29,000 person Facebook group, and it gets a little crazy in there, but someone was like, guys, how do I tell my friends that street parking is different than CrossFit, you know? And I'm just like, oh boy. And it was so fun to read the answers, because many of our members came from that background. We also have a good number of members who have never stepped foot in a CrossFit gym. And for me, I felt like, especially more recently in the last like 5 years, sometimes the messaging, whether intentional or not, or what CrossFit had become to the public, whether intentional or not, from CrossFit HQ, was intimidating to a lot of the general population. And we kind of strive to not have that be a part of what we do at all. So we don't emphasize at all the leaderboard. Wodify has it, and that's the logging platform that we use. But honestly, we have so many people on Wodify that the leaderboard usually won't even pull up for them if they try to see like what place they're in for the day. We de-emphasize RX, like what's prescribed and what counts and what doesn't count. We give suggestions, and we place the emphasis more on hitting the goal times and scores than on clicking RX or worrying about if you did the version that the person next to you, or, you know, the other person did, and if it counts or whatever. And there are, again, really great affiliates out there that do the same thing, but it had become not that in a lot of places and in a lot of ways with CrossFit, just because the games got so big.
Yeah, what I find fascinating is you were really an industry leader, like, because you were prepared for the pandemic 5 years before it happened.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of online programming got lazy, that, you know, you just post a workout and hope that people follow along, but you put the work behind it to make sure that people were successful.
The other thing that we all know who have seen any sort of success in fitness is how far encouragement can go. And in person, that's easy. You tell them, good job, you crushed it today, that was so awesome, you got a PR, or you got your first pull-up or whatever. That's really hard to do online. And so from the very beginning, something that I know that we have always done, and none of the other online programs were doing it, at least not back then, is we would follow the hashtag street parking, and we would comment on every single person that tagged us in a post. And we are really interactive on the Facebook group. And because, you know, if the stay-at-home mom who's working out by herself and no one's there to see it gets one of our coaches or one of our staff, because she posts, you know, a selfie afterwards and says that she did it or whatever and says, good job, we're proud of you. I mean, that's so huge. And now they're like, okay, I'm going to post again. And then they feed off of each other. Like on our Facebook group, you see these people working out in circumstances that just look impossible. Like they're in their like kitchen with their, kids doing their homework at the dinner table or whatever. They're like cooking dinner during their rest periods and stuff like that. And it just like creates this, man, if I saw that person still working out when that was her situation, like what's my excuse? Like, what am I going to say? Especially because the competitive side of it is so de-emphasized for us. We're trying to do our best with our members to make it okay to mail it in sometimes and just move. And that's kind of, if you follow me personally, I post a lot about doing just more than nothing, because what I've seen in 20 years of the fitness industry is that consistency is really what drives lasting results. Intensity is important. And when you have it, go for it and do it. But at least show up and stay in the habit, and you're going to, get a lot more out of it than you think.
And with you guys leading the way by making comments on people's posts, have the community then followed and doing that for each other?
Yeah, you'll see that. We have people, again, that have never met each other that are like really close friends because they found each other on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. A lot of our members, we tell them you should follow the hashtag street parking, because there's no better motivation to see somebody, first of all, doing the same workout that you're going to do, or seeing them, the obstacles that they're overcoming to get their workout in, and it will motivate you. Not everybody that follows our programming is super into social media, and that's totally fine. We have a members only website where if they're not on Instagram or Facebook, they can get the workouts on the website and they don't have to deal with any of it. But we encourage people, if they're comfortable with it, to get involved in the community, just the same way you would at a gym. Like, hey, get to know the members, get to know each other, so that if you don't show up, people come looking for you,
So the piece I saw on you, I think it was almost like a TED Talk. I don't know what it was exactly, but you were speaking at an event, and you were talking about the growth of street parking and how you wanted that to help with the rent, 100 people, and you blew that out of the water. I think it was 700 people initially.
Yeah, I think in the first month it was something like that. Yeah, we were like, okay.
And then you expanded to like it was in the thousands. And then at that point in time, it was 15,000 people you had as members of street parking. And I think that was 2 years ago that you did that speech.
Yeah, I think it was, I know which speech you're talking about. And I think it was like a year and a half ago. It was because it was when we lived here, and it was in Portland. It was actually a conference for affiliate owners.
So where are you today? I heard you say 29,000 Facebook users.
I think we're close to 30,000 members. I would have to double check, but we're somewhere between 29 and 30,000 members now.
Could you even imagine that this is where you would be five years ago?
No, we like laughed and joked about how we would never have 5,000 members. Like, that's crazy. When we had, I think, like 1,500, we were like, oh my gosh, what if we had 5,000? And it's like, I can't really wrap my head around it. So I don't really think about it that much. And people ask us all the time, they're like, what's your goal? Like, how many members do you want? And we've always said the same thing. Like, even from the beginning, we have no specific goal. We want to find the people who need us, and as many people as that is, and as many people as we can do a good job for, we want to find them. We don't want anyone in our community or following our program that it's not right for them, and either they're not ready for it, or they want something more competitive. Like, we've told people, you should go sign up for a competitor program, because that's not really what this is. And we want people to find their place. Right. So, yeah, it just kind of it's all been organic. The only marketing that we do is social media stuff, basically reposting our members or, things like that. And they really do it for us. And we know that, if you post something on your Instagram, like a favorite new restaurant or whatever, your family and friends believe you because they know you. And so that goes so much further than anything we could do, so.
So
I have
Miranda,
oh, go ahead.
sorry. How big is your company now in terms of like employees, coaches? How many people do you have working for you doing social media and that kind of thing?
Yeah, there's roughly, some people are part-time, and we have a good number of people who are not local, not here with us. But if you combine all of that, it's somewhere between like 40 and 45 people, I think. Many of them were former or were members first and started helping out a little bit. And then, you know, several of them moved here or are still helping out from where they're at. But yeah, I think just our social media team, like people who are commenting and doing stuff on social media, there's like, I want to say like 6 to 8 people maybe.
Wow.
And then we have a pretty big support team too, obviously, just the emails from that many people of like, hey, like I can't log my workout or whatever, you know?
Right. Do you guys have an affiliate program at all where you offer programming for affiliates?
So honestly, we get reached out to by affiliates a lot. Actually, there's 2 ways that this goes. One, we get reached out to by an affiliate and they say, hey, I want to just use your programming at my gym. Like, do I need to pay extra for that? Or the other way that it goes is a member will write in and be like, hey, my gym is using your programming and they're not giving you credit.
Oops. Right.
Like I know because I'm also a member. We usually just tell affiliate owners like, listen, with what we provide, you don't need anything. Pay $19. Have your gym owner, like we can't stop you from doing that. So it would be, I don't know, just dumb, I guess. Not dumb, but like.
Right. You're already giving it to all of your individual members. So you wouldn't be giving anything extra.
Exactly, because we provide a warm-up and we provide all the different versions and all the subs and modifications. We even provide a beginner version of the workout for the daily workout now too. So you can see like the super scaled options. Sometimes we have like a glory days option where it's like, hey, if you've got muscle ups or you've got handstand push-ups or handstand walks, this is the version that you can do. That's only once in a while. And then we have all of our accessory programs. So we have like an Oli workout once a week and a power workout once a week and all this other stuff. I mean, if I was a gym owner, I would just sign up and use what I wanted and, you know, add in whatever else. But we get asked that a lot, and that's what we tell them to do. And all we ask from gym owners is, hey, let the members know that this is where you're getting the programming so that if they wanted to become an official member, they could do that. Or if they move away, they can keep, if they like the programming and they move away and they want to keep working out, or if they travel and they want to, you know, we know that we can't control what people are going to do. So we just, if they do write in, that's what we tell them.
And what about like starting brick and mortar gyms under the street parking name?
I mean, these days that sounds like a really bad idea, right? I don't know that we're interested in managing all of that. You know, we plan on homeschooling our 2 boys, and we have some other ideas for ways that we can reach. One of the things that we love about street parking is the price, because while there are people who are too busy to make it to a gym, there's a lot of people who just can't afford a CrossFit gym. And I'm not a person that says that CrossFit should be cheaper because I owned an affiliate, and I know that's also not really, doesn't make financial sense, you know? But if we can provide all of these tools to someone who may never be able to afford a gym, that's more of a focus for us. The other idea that we've had is, because Julian is very fluent in Spanish, is creating all of what we do and providing it in Spanish as well. For that community. And so I don't know that the brick and mortar gyms, we're more than happy to send you a banner if you're an affiliate and you would like to hang a street parking banner and say we're a street parking gym and we follow their program, we'll send you a banner.
Got it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I have one weird question. In the process of this, what do you think is more important percentage-wise, your programming or your community?
I think for member retention, your community is more important. I think the community drives people's consistency. even maybe more, depending on how bad your programming is along with it. I mean, if people are just wrecked all the time or bored, the consistency is also not going to be there. But programming is really important, but there are people out there who are really good at it, who just haven't figured out the community side. I don't think that the workouts that I create are any better than Chris Spieler or Pat Sherwood, and they both have very successful programs also. I know that the difference is just how much time we put into the community. And it's not to take anything away from them, because Linchpin is amazing, and there are so many programs out there that are great, but I mean, when we've told people how much time and how many people we employ just to talk to people on social media, it can be overwhelming, but it's a commitment that, we're really big into and we'll keep doing.
I think it's really cool that when you first started, opened your affiliate in Salt Lake, you said, I'm really good at building a community. And that has carried you all the way to this project, which has just taken off. And you should be so proud of what is accomplished, and really forward thinking. And you should really be proud of that.
Thank you.
The last thing I want to say is, where can people get street parking programming? We want to make sure they can find it.
Yeah. So you can go to streetparking.com, and you can go to at street parking on Instagram, and we post at least one sample workout a week. And that's been for 4 years almost now. So, I mean, you should probably just follow that at first. You won't be part of the community if you're doing that, of course, and the workouts aren't necessarily in an appropriate order or anything, but that can give you an idea of what we do. And then I'm at Fearless Miranda on Instagram, and Julian is 009 Julian. And his story is even cooler than mine, I think. So
does that mean he's two better than James Bond?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
009.
Well, Miranda, my gosh, this was such a treat for me to get to talk to you. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and I want to thank you very much for sharing your story with us and our audience.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we hope you have a great day and a good visit with your family.
Yeah, I just saw my mom and my sister walk back home with the baby, so he's probably ready to eat.
Perfect timing.
Well, we'll let you go do that. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.